The Avengers versus the Fantastic Four. Who would win if the two biggest superhero teams of the MCU ever fought? Well, with the new Fantastic Four movie out, people are naturally curious about how strong these guys are, especially compared to some of the other heavy hitters of the MCU. And what better way to gauge their strength than to square them up with the OGs themselves? When I talk about the Avengers, I mean the classic lineup we see right here. We all know what these guys are capable of, but the combined might of Fantastic Four is not to be underestimated. The sheer power that they showcased in this movie is insane. For one, they've got the Thing, strong enough to pull ships. And let's not forget about Invisible Woman, with her crazy telepathic powers. But is all that going to be enough to take out the Hulk, or literal gods like Thor? Well, let's look at both their strengths and weaknesses and find out. Now let's start off with the Avengers. These guys need no introduction. I think everyone knows who this iconic superhero team is. For over a decade at this point, the Avengers have graced our childhood with the mighty Hulk, the genius Iron Man, and all the others that we know and love. Individually, a lot of these guys are street level. Sort of. But put together, they've come out on top against some pretty crazy foes. From stopping Ultron, to fighting galactic wars, and even turning back time to stop Thanos himself. You can say these guys are capable of a lot. Now, for the purposes of this video, we're not going to consider insane wildcards like Scarlet Witch or Captain Marvel. That's a whole other video right there. For now, we're just going to consider Thor, Hulk, Iron Man, Captain America, Black Widow, and Hawkeye. Because no matter how strong you are, there is nothing in this universe that can even faze these guys. They've literally seen everything. Magic, space invasions, demigods. Throw anything you want at these guys and they'll face it head on. To say these guys pack a punch is an understatement. By far the strongest member of the Avengers is the Hulk. Even though he's not as strong as we'd like him to be, he's still a force to be reckoned with. This guy is so strong he can one-shot Leviathans. He can even slap around cosmic threats like Surtur. I mean, just look at this. And then we got literal gods like Thor. He's overpowered Thanos' Infinity Stones. You know, the same Infinity Stones that obliterated half the universe? But even without weapons, he's so strong he can send the Hulk flying with one punch. He's destroyed entire cities, and even broke through the Rainbow Bridge. Honestly, the sheer amount of destruction this guy is capable of is truly on another level. He can one-shot entire armies and shake up planets. And let's not forget, anyone who can fight this universal menace is no joke. Together, Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor were able to fight and even stagger Thanos. Sure, he got the better of them after a while, but to do this to a madman who can overpower Captain Marvel and break through vibranium is nothing to scoff at. But they're not just strong, they're also stupid tough. Thor alone can survive the power of a neutron star. He survived explosions and cosmic beams that would disintegrate a lesser being. He's even survived the Power Stone, the same Power Stone we've seen do this to full-on planets. And then there's the Hulk. He's gotten outright stomped, fired at, hit with lightning. He's survived it all and healed himself up like nothing happened. Iron Man even survived getting hit by a moon. No, I'm really not exaggerating. Thanos literally pulled a moon from orbit and then yeeted it right at him. Just like Thor, he even survived the concentrated energy of the Power Stone. You see, this is why Iron Man is special. Even if the team can't physically take an attack, he has access to nanotech that can create shields at the drop of a hat. Not bad for a so-called regular human. But of course, all that assumes that you're fast enough to keep up with these guys in the first place. Iron Man alone can outrun explosions, easily giving him massively hypersonic speed. As far as attack speed goes, Iron Man can shoot out light-based rays that can go as fast as, you guessed it, the speed of light. And if we want to look at how fast these guys can get in the heat of the moment, just look at who they fought. These guys can keep up with Thanos. The same Thanos who's fast enough that he can react to Captain Marvel's light rays without breaking a sweat. So don't let this guy's size fool you. He's so fast he can break the light barrier with ease. But even the so-called regular humans in the team can still keep up with him in battle. So yeah, I think I can speak for everyone when I say these guys are not going down without a fight. Now, let's take a look at the Fantastic Four. Of course, we all know their backstory. 4 astronauts head up into space and come back forever changed. They were all normal humans, who transform into a man made out of fire, a rock with a heart of gold, an overpowered telepath, and a shape-shifting genius who just so happens to be the smartest person in the MCU. And since then, they've served as Earth's protectors, battling it out with unimaginable threats. Without getting too much into it, the film plunges straight into high stakes. From parenthood to cosmic rays and the looming threat of Galactus and his mysterious herald, the Silver Surfer. But by the power of teamwork, they've managed to come out on top against some pretty crazy foes. To get into how strong these guys are, look at the Thing. In terms of in-your-face brute strength, this is the epitome. This guy is strong enough that he can pull ships. We're talking hundreds of thousands of tons of steel. He can lift trucks and ragdoll cranes like it's nothing. But it's not just physical strength that comes into play here. Invisible Woman's telepathic abilities are said to be as strong as Scarlet Witch. You know, the same Scarlet Witch that roughed up Thanos in Endgame. She was able to push back Galactus. For those who don't know, this is the Galactus I'm talking about. He's a full-on universal threat whose entire thing is conquering planets throughout the cosmos. He's so powerful that his mere presence sent Earth into pure chaos. And somehow Sue Storm managed to overpower this dude. And while each of these guys are powerful in their own right, they're able to land combo hits that make their attacks all the more damaging. Here, we see Human Torch Blast Galactus with his firepower, and he doesn't even flinch. But later, Sue amplifies him to the point where he was actually able to give him a run for his money. They're able to fight against beings like Gargantos, who comes from a line of Marvel comic villains that can cause literal earthquakes. And Sue alone has enough telepathic power that she can stagger and straight up ragdoll Silver Surfer, a juggernaut capable of surviving black holes. Yeah, not even this powerhouse could stand a chance against the combined might of the Fantastic Four. But in terms of durability, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not impressed. Sure, they've endured hits from the likes of Silver Surfer and Gargantos, but then you have clown-worthy scenes like this, where Mr. Fantastic gets knocked out by a surfboard. No, I'm really not exaggerating. But then again, the fact that they were able to survive anything thrown by Silver Surfer is pretty impressive in its own right. So even though their durability isn't as high as we would like, it's still nothing to scoff at. Just look at this. The Thing survived being thrown by Galactus so hard that he flew into space. And even if they can't physically take a blow, Invisible Woman has the power to create telepathic barriers that shield them from pretty much any kind of attack. That's exactly what they did with Gargantos. Even though Gargantos is more than likely stronger than these guys, not even he could break through this force field. And if all that wasn't enough, there's still the matter of speed. Mr. Fantastic was able to construct the Excelsior, a spaceship that's designed to go faster than the speed of light. In less than 30 seconds, it can go all the way from Earth to a neutron star on the other side of the galaxy. If you do the math, we're talking hundreds, maybe even thousands of light years covered in a mere 30 seconds. I think I can speak for everyone when I say this is unimaginable speed. And the fact that these guys can even navigate a ship going this fast means that they themselves are capable of processing events in these crazy, massively faster than light speeds. But even without the ship, Human Torch can fly so fast he can keep up with Silver Surfer, a being who we've seen firsthand go faster than light. So even without these crazy gadgets, these guys can still break the light barrier with ease. But honestly, it's Reed Richards' brain power that takes them to the next level. For anyone who doesn't know, he's the smartest dude in all of Marvel. Although we haven't seen much from him in the movie, we know he's smart enough that he discovered alternate dimensions, and even teleportation. He's the reason we're not giving these guys prep time, because who knows what this guy's mind is capable of. But enough glazing. Now that we know how overpowered these guys are, the question that's probably on everybody's mind is, which of these iconic teams would win a fight? Well, right off the bat, the Avengers have an obvious advantage in terms of pure numbers. A 6 versus 4 would give you a pretty significant advantage. Sort of. Noticed how I never once mentioned Black Widow and Hawkeye? That's because these two are pretty much useless in this fight. Sure, Black Widow is skilled in hand-to-hand combat, and while she's quite OP in the comics, we just haven't seen her do much in the MCU. And Hawkeye? Believe me when I tell y'all he's deadly accurate. With the bow and arrow. Bruh. Now, I don't want to downgrade these guys too much here. They were low-key kind of peak in Endgame. But what exactly can an arrow do against the Thing? Safe to say, this is pretty much going to be a 4-4. But even without the obvious numbers advantage, the Avengers honestly carry by a mile. Sure, the Thing is strong, but just look at what these guys can do. Don't get me wrong, pulling a whole ship is impressive, but one-shotting Leviathans and cosmic bridges? That's next level. Maybe, just maybe, these guys could possibly hold back the onslaught with Invisible Woman's force field. Because I'm not gonna lie, she's low-key pretty cracked. Like I said before, she's got enough power to push back Galactus. So I think she could at least somewhat hold these guys off. But even then, this is not something she can sustain for long. Doing something like this took everything she had. And if it hadn't been for Silver Surfer coming in clutch at the last minute, the team would have been cooked. So even if Invisible Woman could create a force field so strong that it could hold back all these juggernauts at once, these guys would eventually just break through by sheer power and will. For durability, again, it's brutally one-sided. Thor can survive a literal neutron star, but these guys got knocked around with a surfboard. Now, I'm not saying the Avengers can one-shot these guys, but come on. Even their weakest members can survive hits from Thanos and literal moons being thrown at them. But it's not over yet. Even if the Avengers are physically superior, it doesn't matter if they can't keep up with them in terms of speed. Because remember, the Fantastic Four still has the Excelsior, but going faster than light is just not that impressive for Marvel standards. Like I said, even the so-called humans like Iron Man and Captain America can break the light barrier with ease. The only way I could see these guys ever winning this showdown is if Mr. Fantastic had prep time. If he somehow came in clutch and find some sort of weakness for every single one of these guys, then maybe they'd have some chance of winning. After all, if anyone can do it, it's this genius right here. Because again, this dude's brain power is arguably the strongest thing here. But even then, the Avengers aren't exactly stupid either. They've got Bruce Banner and, of course, Tony Stark. While I'm not going to comment on whether Tony is smarter than Mr. Fantastic, you can at least see that it's not that much of an intelligence gap. But anyway, I think you guys know where I'm going with this. The Avengers would destroy the Fantastic Four in a fight. And again, while I don't think it's a total stomp, it's not exactly a close fight either. The brutal truth is that the Avengers are just too strong for these guys to handle. But that's my take on it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments.